Let's get started in the practice. Come onto your mat. You can either sit on the long edge of the mat or the front edge of the mat. As always, we will get ourselves centered onto the mat. So come onto your mat. Welcome to tonight's practice. So, as always, I usually bring some kind of poetry or something which is relevant to our practice. So, today I chose it's kind of like a poetry that was written. There's a book called Soul to Soul. In that, they talk about how yoga um, kind of builds it starts off like you come onto the mat and you think we are doing some kind of poses exercises, we want to get really good at that. That's where we start. We try going to LA Fitness or whatever, and then we realize that okay, let me try yoga. So is yoga an exercise? So we talked about it a whole lot. We talked about the benefits of yoga. We talked about what is the outcome. Is the outcome important or practice important? So today I bring in concept that was talked about in Soul to Soul, the book which is talking about yoga. There's this person, John Mantle. He's in the same legacy as my teacher is. It's coming from Kripalu, Swami Kripalu. Swami Kripalu has a big yoga studio in Boston area, and it produced several students, and they had a lot of Bhakti yoga students like Krishna Das. You may have heard Krishna Das. All those people belong to Kripalu. So John talks about his experiences with yoga. Like all of us, he also started yoga as a way of moving the body, exercising. So then he goes deeper into yoga, and that we all get into that. From exercise, we know that more than the exercise, yoga brings us onto the mat, centered into our mind, into our focusing on our internal journey more than the outward journey. So some of us, even if we have slightest pain in our neck or back or the ankle, we still come onto the mat because this is a sacred place for all of us. So with that said, I'll be focusing on yoga as way of life today. If you have started observing your breath, let it just be as smooth as it was, no constraining. Just observe your breath. When you're observing your breath, it might help if you just close your eyes or set the gaze on the mat. Arrive on the mat, not physically, but bringing all of the energies, your mindset onto the mat. The three forces that impact us every minute, every second. Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, Adhyatmika. There are three forces that always impact us. Adi Daivika is something that we can only pray, we can only seek the blessings. We do not have influence other than asking for Adi Daivika Shakti to be with us in our favor. We take our arms over our heads to pray for Adi Daivika forces. Bring them, your prayer arms, to your Ajna Chakra, the place where you bow down to Adi Bhautika, the elements, the sun, the moon, the water, the earth, every element be with us. Bring your prayer arms to your heart center, your soul, soul to soul. That's our theme of the practice. Adhyatmika, Atmika, Atma's your self. Take a deep breath, take your arms over your head, make a nice huge circle while you take your arms and center, bringing the prayer arms to your heart center. Breathe in deep. Take the 3-part breath all the way to the abdomen. Fill up your rib cages. Flood the shoulder bones. Bring the centering to your heart. Breathe in. Take your arms over your head and make an intention mudra. Stretch your spine as though someone's pulling you from up. Breathe in. Suddenly you feel there's so much space that you have got. Take the arms to the side, lateral shift. See how beautifully in your rib structure, you're finding a very nice, beautiful lateral bend. Bring it back to the center. Take it to the other side. Let this be not more than the exercise. Let this be something that brings you centered on your mat. Take it to the other side. Make this every single moment of body awareness, bringing your body, mind, and soul together. Bring it back to the center. Take your right hand to the left knee and take the left hand to the back. Turn your neck. Set your gaze. Drishti is important. As I always mention, these are exercises, yes, but more than anything, these can be used for us to reduce our anxiety that we build unknowingly in our spine, unknowingly on our neck, shoulders. Focus on your body. Bring the arms over your head. Keep the right hand to the sky. Take the left hand to the mat. Do a nice lateral bend again. Continue to breathe, completely exhaling, breathing in as deep as possible. Uddiyana Bandha is, in other words, it's like tummy tucks. Uddiyana is a navel place where you just send your abdomen towards your spine as though you're contracting your abdomen. Make it gentle if you need to not stress your abdomen. Take it to the other side. Come back to the center and come on to tabletop. In your tabletop, this is the engaged resting pose. I do understand some of you need rest in between the asanas. So take this as your resting pose if you can handle pressure on your wrist, pressure on your knees. If not, come into child's pose. Enjoy the cat and cow moments. Own your moment, own your breath, make it your own. We've been doing this for last 10 weeks or so. So y'all don't need any further cues. Enjoy the moment. What would you like to do on the mat is what you want. It could be relaxation, restoration. It could be a deep exercise. Yoga is what you want it to be. Take the circles larger and on the both the sides. Stretch your hands all the way to the front edge of the mat and send your heart all the way to the mat. Anahata asana. Anahata. That means a sound that happens without striking. Slowly send your hips towards your heels and come into child's pose. Touch the forehead onto the mat. Child's pose is very relaxing to some of us. If you need to cushion something under your knees, go for it. Touching the forehead to the mat. When you feel you want to come to the tabletop, meet me at the tabletop. Press away the palms onto the mat and lift your hips coming into downward facing dog. In your downward facing dog, make sure that your inverted V. Get the balance by putting the weight on your hips downwards. Bring the knees as though you're touching the mat. And send them back to downward facing dog. Lift your right leg high. Send the right foot in between the hands. Bring the left foot to meet the right. Forward bend. Take your hands and clasp your calf muscles and send your nose towards your knees. Slowly, one vertebrae at a time, come on to standing. When you come on to the front edge of the mat, turn towards the long edge of the mat. Face yourself to the left long edge of the mat. Take the hands over your head. Again, intention mudra in your hands. Slight bend to the left. Bring it back to the center. Take it to the other side. Bring it back to the center. Take the left leg all the way to the back edge of the mat. Like as much as possible. And still you have your intention mudra. Send it out. Take your hands to the sides, 5 stars. Bring your hands by your hips. Breathe in. Hinge at your hips. Straighten the back. like making a, drawing a parallel line with your spine onto the mat. Send your hands onto the floor and walk your hands, now coming into downward facing dog with wide legs. Send the awareness to your hips, to your thighs. Bring the hands back to the mat. Send your hands towards your left foot. Send your hips towards the heels. I don't know what happened to my music, but let it go. Grow tall, bringing the hands to your heart center. Skandasana. Sit down. Just sit on your heel. Sit on your heel. It's not standing pose, it's sitting pose. Skandasana is you sit on your heel. Bring your hands to touch the mat. Pivot your hands and take them to the both sides of your left leg. Send your right knee onto the mat. Bring your hands onto your knees and grow tall. Take your hands over your head. You are in Anjaneya Asana. This is actually a modification of moon salutations that I'm taking. Take your hands back onto the mat. Bring your left leg back, coming into tabletop. From here, press yourself into downward facing dog. You probably are facing the back edge of your mat in your downward facing dog. Take your right leg high and put it in between the hands. Let the left leg come on to the floor. Bring your hands on your knees. Take your hands over your head. Start moving your hands to the side of the mat and cross them to the other long edge of the mat. Lift yourself into downward facing dog. You should perhaps be facing the other long edge of the mat. Walk your hands a little further, coming into downward facing dog. Bring your hands back to the mat. Widen your stance if you need to widen it. Bring your hands on your hips. Send your hands to the sides. 5-star. Breathe in. Bring your hands on your hips. Send them back onto your mat. And walk your hands towards your left side. And sit on your left heel. Grow tall. This is Skandasana again on the other long edge of the mat. I'm going to get off the asana, but stay in Skandasana. I want to just check on you guys. Okay. Take your hands by your heart center, if possible. Bring your hands back onto the mat. Pivot your hands and your left leg is in between your hands. Now come on to Anjaneyasana, facing the front edge of the mat. Bring your hands by your hips. Send the left leg to meet the right. Widen your knees and come on to child's pose. While you're in child's pose, make sure that you're touching your forehead onto the mat. Come back to the tabletop. Come into downward facing dog just for a second. Raise your right leg up high. Put it in between the front hands. And raise yourself into warrior one. Again, warrior one is front leg needs to have a nice bend. The back leg slightly rotates inwards. Hands are stretching upwards. Wow, that's beautiful. Bring your hands by your hips. And then slowly take your hands in front of you in prayer arms. Send your prayer arms towards the right side of the mat. You're twisting at your waist level. Your elbow is passing the right knee. Bring it back to the center. Bring the hands again on your hips. Straighten the front leg. Turn your body towards the left edge of the mat. From here, stretch your hands and again put a bend on your front knee, coming into warrior two. So what we have done is we have done warrior one footprint. From warrior one, we now went into warrior two. Bring your hands by your hips. Turn your hips square away to see the front edge of the mat. Bring your left foot to meet the right. Let the hands come by your side. Coming into Tadasana. In your Tadasana, make sure that your fingertips are pointing towards the mat. Take a deep breath. Your mountain pose shows how balanced your body is, how centered your body is. Breathe in. Take a deep breath and take your hands over your head. Slight back bend, Urdhva Hastasana. Let's take sun salutation. Forward bend, Uttanasana. Half lift straight back, Ardha Uttanasana. Forward bend, hands on the mat. Send both the legs to the back edge of the mat, one at a time. Coming into plank. Come into plank. Beautiful. Draw a straight line from your tailbone to the ground. Lift your abdomen. It should not be towards the mat. Lift your abdomen up. Now exhale down to cobra. Exhale down and then raise a little bit high, up. Yep, that is cobra. Breathe into cobra. Exhale to downward facing dog. Walk your dog one knee at a time. Traditionally, we take 3 breath cycles in the downward facing dog. Lift your right leg high and place it in between the hands. Send your left knee onto the mat and look up. Breathe in. Exhale, bringing the left foot to meet the right, coming into forward bend. Beautiful. Half lift, straight back. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, hands over your head in prayer arms, bringing hands to your heart center. Beautiful. Samasthiti. That is sun salutation. So take a break if you need, take a sip of water. If you are still want to be engaged, coming into tabletop. So you have 3 choices. So we have done the moon salutation, then we did warrior, and then we did sun salutation. And now we are either taking a break or doing our tabletop to be engaged in the practice. That's beautiful. In our tabletop, lift your right hand up high and let's do some threading the needle here. Thread the needle, right arm comes towards the mat, shoulder comes towards the mat, temple touches the mat. Send your left hand all the way to the front. Gain the balance. See if your pelvis is neutral. That means that you're squared away. Send your left foot, stretch it back. Like your left hand is stretching frontwards, left leg is stretching backwards. Right? Challenge yourself to lift your left leg high. May not be as high, but let's just try, effort. If you had lifted your left leg, place it down. Slowly bring your hands, use your elbow to raise yourself back into tabletop. Now take your left hand up high and send it under your right. Let the left shoulder fall onto the mat. Send your right leg back. Beautiful. So the right hand is stretched, right leg is stretched. Beautiful. Slowly bring yourself back into tabletop using the elbow power. Come on to tabletop. Let the elbows rest on the mat, like you're drawing 2 L's with your hands. Breathe in. We're going for elbow plank. So to do that, you just send both the legs to the back edge of the mat and draw your body, your torso. Your body is making a straight line parallel to the mat. Raise yourself on your toes. Let your head be between the hands. This is elbow plank. The beauty of this elbow plank is your abdomen is going towards the mat
Your face is also towards the mat. The distance between your face and the mat, abdomen and the mat should all be the same. Let it all go. Come on to Satsanga Pranam. Touch the forehead onto the mat. Bring your hands by your shoulders and lift into upward facing dog. So as I talked to you about upward facing dog compared to Bhujangasana, guess what? The change is your hands are not flexed, your arms are straight, your stomach is not touching the mat, your thighs are touching the mat. From upward facing dog, come on to downward facing dog. Take the lever from your knees when you're coming into downward facing dog. Lift your right leg high and come into pigeon pose. Bring the right leg, right foot behind the left hand and place your knee. Your right knee is at the back of your right leg, right hand. Send your left leg back. Coming into king pigeon. Breathe in. Don't forget to breathe in. Exhale. Bring your hands by together. Make a pillow with your hands and rest your chin onto your hands. Sleeping pigeon. Some people use the sleeping pigeon as a restorative pose. When I say restorative, what it means is perhaps your muscles are overstressed and you want to get into this pose and stay here for long time. Don't get scared, like 5 to 10 minutes they leave themselves in this. That restores their muscles. But for us, we're going to get out of this asana by bringing our hands back into king pigeon. Then from king pigeon, take the left knee closer and then send your right knee back, coming into tabletop. From tabletop, lift yourself into downward facing dog. Lift your left leg up high, place it behind the right hand and let the knee rest on the mat. Send the right leg far on the mat. Stretch it. We are in king pigeon. From king pigeon, come on to sleeping pigeon. Just rest on your hands. Enjoy that sleeping pigeon. Sleeping pigeon is one of the best poses for sciatica nerve. This time, bring your right leg to meet your left. Now you will see yourself in cross-legged position by doing that. Take your hands by your knees. Breathe in. So from pigeon, you have beautifully transitioned into cross-legged position. Just stay in cross-legged position, breathing in, exhaling, relax the muscles, centering our thoughts, centering onto the mat. Bring your hands to your back, like send them to the back, and your fingertips are facing towards the back. Now stretch your legs. If you can handle the plank like this, we'll go for that. If not, just observe what's happening and only then go for what I'm doing. We are taking the plank to the other side. Like you have done the plank and now you're reversing the plank. This needs a lot of pressure. This makes a lot of pressure on the wrist. So be careful. Your shoulder blades are together and you're looking up, drawing a straight line from your pubic bone all the way to the forehead and bring it slowly back onto the mat. Come back to the mat. Bend both the knees and windshield wipe the knees. Bring your hands by your sides and your knees are still bent. Lift your hands by your side, lift your legs about 45 degrees, lift in the legs, coming into Nava Asana. Breathe in. And let it all go. Come on to the mat. I will take you back to the boat pose. So take a breathing break in here. Bend your knees and windshield wipe the knees. So you're preparing your hips by doing this. Lift your legs to 45-degree angle and then lift your torso. Hands by your side, coming into boat pose. Beautiful. Exhale, completely coming onto the mat. Take your hands over your head, stretch them. Stretch your hands to the back. Then send your hands towards your knees. You don't have to touch the knees, but you lift your head as though you're trying to get your hands towards your knees. It acts on your abdomen by doing this. Let it all go. Send the hands back. Breathe in. Again, send your hands towards your knees. Don't touch the knees. Let them go towards that and lift your shoulders up of the mat. Let it all go. Let your hands come on by your side. We are going into bridge pose next. So those of you, if you want to just lie down on the mat, take a break by just lying down straight back on the mat. If those of you who are interested in Setu Bandhana bridge pose, let the knees be flexed and lift your abdomen off of the mat as high as possible. Keep breathing, keep breathing. Beautiful. And slowly bring it down to touch the mat. We're going to go for Setu Bandhana just one more time with a modification. So go for Setu Bandhana. Send bridge pose. Imagine water gushing underneath you. Clasp your hands in the behind. Like take the hands like you're giving shake hand to your hands. That actually brings little more stretch in your hip muscles. Let the bind go. Come on to the mat. From here, windshield wipe the knees from side to side. Take your right leg up high and place the ankle on your left knee. We're getting into figure 4 asana. Lift your left leg high. Send your hands between the legs and hold on to your thighs. Breathe in. If you want to make circles with your feet, go for them. Take it clockwise, take it anti-clockwise. Bring the legs back onto the mat. Feet touch the mat. Windshield wipe again. Lift the left leg up high. Place the left knee on the right knee. Sorry, left ankle on the right knee. Lift the right leg up high. Grab that right thigh. Bring it closer to your body. Make circles with your feet or just let it just be still. More than anything, using this as an exercise if you have some kind of hip issues or sciatica, you can use this as a very good physical therapy exercise. But since we come onto the mat, our intentions are to bring yoga to be more than just exercise. And that's what we were going to talk today about. Bring both the feet to the mat. I'm getting off of the mat, but please stay back just like this on the mat and start windshield wiping with the knees. And stack your knees, send them to the left side. You might want to shift your weight a little bit by moving the hips to the right side, coming into supine position. Spread those arms to the sides. I may not cue you, but when you're ready, go for the other side. Supine twist, take it to the other side. Come back to the center and hug both the knees closer to your chest. If you feel like bringing some movement to your hips, take it to side, rocking. Apana Asana. Apana Asana is all about the fluidity. Send your right leg, stretch it all the way, but hug your left knee closer to your chest. Beautiful. When you're ready, take it to the other side. When you feel ready, just stretch both the legs to the far end of the mat. Take your hands all the way, stretching, giving yourself like a stretch that you would have in the morning. A long, beautiful stretch. Make an intention mudra with your hands.
Send your intention mudra hands to the left side of the mat. Sending your legs also towards the left side of the mat. Make a semicircle with your body. Ardha Chandrasana, like half moon shape. Come back to the center and take it to the other side. Release the bind. Bring your hands by your sides. Coming into Savasana. Close your eyes. Make yourself as comfortable as possible. Roll to your favorite side. When you feel ready, come sitting in the cross-legged position. Bring your hands by your palms on your knees and face the palms upwards. Close your eyes or set the gaze to the mat. Although I planned for beautiful music, God has intended for us to remain in silence, I guess. Sama in Sanskrit is calmness. Make your breath as calm as you can. Feel the cold breath going through your nostrils. Exhaling the warm breath. The calmness comes when you just take as it comes and leave as it goes without any constraint. Isn't that acceptance? Let your breath be not constrained. When you observe your breath, you tend to control your breath. You have an intention to deepen it, make it shallow. That is Dhamma. Dhamma in Sanskrit is controlling. Sama and Dhamma. The next cycle of breath. Inhale, hold. Exhale, hold without breathing. So there are 4 parts. Breathe, hold, breathe out, hold. Holding is Uparati. Holding the senses Holding your breath is an indicator, it's a representation of holding yourself. Uparati. You tend to observe that holding while breath is inside is easier than holding without breathing. It's painful. The fourth power that you want to gain is titiksha, your ability to take the pain. Titiksha. Sama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha. These are the four things that we practice to gain the fifth one, which is Samana, being accepting of what we are, who we are, what it is. Keep observing your breath. Anatomically, you control your breath, and breath controls your mind. That is the mindfulness that you gain from yoga. More and more you come onto the mat, like John Mandel. He says, the first time you come onto the mat, you ask, what is yoga? Is that an exercise? The teacher says, perhaps it is exercise. You spread your mat, and John observes that this is a funny mat story. The mat does not even roll down, it doesn't lie flat. John's student comes back next week and he says, is the yoga just a way of life? And John answers, yoga is what you want it to be. The student spreads the mat and the edges are still curled. The next week, the student comes back to the class and asks, hey John, yesterday's sunset was beautiful. Have you seen that? And John answers, yes, I did. The student spreads the mat. It lays down flat on the floor. As we bring ourselves onto the mat, yoga becomes more than exercise. It is the mindfulness. It's the centering. I hope this has provided you guidelines for your practice, bringing the hands to your heart center. The light in my heart bows down with deepest gratitude to all of you for joining me in this practice. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session, as always.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.